known, so things that are really widely used, things like WebEOC, which is also CalEOC, ArcGIS Online, Google Earth, and then we also have our Clearinghouse Field Note tool and our Clearinghouse Spot-On Field Data Collection tool. These trainings are self-paced. They're all being recorded. You can find them all on the Clearinghouse website. And if you have examples of information or type of technology you want to see, let us know and we can work on that. And you don't need to learn how to use all of them. So if you're not proficient in ArcGIS Online, you're only going to be using, WebEOC, that's okay. But the point, I think it's still important to participate in these trainings because it's important to see how other people are going to use your information, how they're going to visualize it. We all get used to seeing things in our own world, the way we do things in our own shop. But Bill Balin, who I think is on the call from City of Walnut Creek, he always says that the way to define success is every user will be able to take the information into their own system, combine it with information from other systems and other organizations to create their own custom decision-making products and maps and things like that. So I think it's really good to help understand how your data is going to be seen and used in other applications. It might help, when you're working with the information to think about how you enter information into that system. If you're out in the field and you're reporting on a damaged structure, you'll have a better sense of, okay, somebody at the State Operations Center or somebody with another agency is going to be seeing this in a Google Earth or in an ArcGIS Online, or it's going to be text, it's going to be in WebEOC. So think about, how you characterize something, what words you use to describe it, because that, could affect how easily somebody else is able to see it and use that information in another tool or technology. So I'm going to hand things off to Jim Morentz now, and he's going to show us this week ArcGIS consuming data from XchangeCore. So Jim, I'm going to let you take it away.
What we're going to do today is take a look at the next step. We've been looking at how to put information in, situational awareness information in to XchangeCore. Now we're going to take a look at how it comes out. The use case for this is that you're in an EOC, or you're sitting on your desktop, or you're sitting in your car someplace connected on a wireless or a cell phone, and you want situational awareness. You want to know what incidents and observations have been created by CalOES, the WebEOC tool, or Spot-On Response that we trained on the last couple of times, or Clearinghouse Field Notes, or other applications. You want to know what's happening out there. And you're using a geospatial visualization tool. In the exercise, that can be ArcGIS Online, or it can be Google Earth. If you want to experiment with Bing, or you want to experiment with OpenStreetMaps, let's get in touch and see what we do. But these two are the ones that we're focusing on now. And you can be any place in the country for the exercise. Pull up Google Earth or pull up ArcGIS Online and see what's been reported by a number of different applications that are going to be participating in the exercise. What you're going to do in the exercise is consume the XchangeCore data from those applications. And then you make it part of your own GIS analytics or common operating picture, whatever you're doing. So the data is agnostic. It doesn't care where it goes. You'll have permissions that Anne will have granted you to be able to see this information, and you can then participate in the exercise by manipulating the data and perhaps providing it back. And that's another one of our sessions as we go along. So what we hope you're going to learn today is how to compose a query from XchangeCore, how to add it to your ArcGIS Online maps, and how to style the output on your ArcGIS Online maps. Then how to add that same query into Google Earth, how to then take a brief look at how XchangeCore can actually move data directly to the ArcGIS server, and we'll talk about that, and then do a little practice. So let's get started. And get started by coming back to our fundamental interactions, which today are situational awareness from incidents and observations. And you've seen the various tools that we've had performing here before. And what we're going to be doing today is taking incidents that have been generated from a number of different places. Some of them came off of WebUC, but we're not going to show that today. We're going to show ones that have come out of everything, but specifically spot-on response, that incidents that you have created yourselves over the last couple of weeks, observations that you've created, how they're going to appear in ArcGIS Online and how you can manage and stylize them, how they're going to appear in Google Earth. So to do that, you can play a role. What we're going to see here are a couple of things. And let's start out with ArcGIS Online. And what we have is ArcGIS Online sitting here with these URLs. We're going to tuck those into the background there. And I've previously set up, but we're going to turn these off and throw them away. These are the incidents and observations that you have been creating. There's liquefaction out there. Here's a fallen tree on blocking a road. Here's something else out here. School closures. These are incidents that have come from a number of different applications. By turning these on and off, you see that they go away. So now we're going to learn how they got there. Very simple. If you know ArcGIS Online, this is going to be pretty basic stuff for you. I'm going to work off of this form, although you can also do this through My Content. Add these tools to My Content. Unfortunately, you can't add a GeoRSS feed directly through My Content for some reason, so we're going to do it through here because we're going to do the GeoRSS feeds. You can add KMLs into ArcGIS Online as well, but I've moved from KMLs to the GeoRSS feed because ArcGIS is providing a little bit better capability to stylize, and we'll take a look at that. So I'm starting out over here under Add. I'm going to add a layer from the web. It's going to come over here, give me some choices about where I get them from the web, number of different places. I'm going to take them as a GeoRSS feed. I'm going to come over here to my GeoRSS feeds and paste it in. This is a query. This query comes in here, and let's focus on what it does. It says it's a secure socket connection to begin with. We're going to the CalOES spotonresponse.com location, which is the core, the Exchange core. We're going to format that as an RSS feed. And then if we come on over here, we're going to see that we're looking for the product type incident. Those are just a language on how to talk between ArcGIS Online and XchangeCore. The little blue add layer pops up when you have a legitimate query statement that's been made there. I'm going to click to add that, and you see all these little RSS symbols show up, and up at the top here you've got the ArcGIS feed. What I want to do now is take that pretty simple process. These URLs bring you these feeds. There's more that we'll talk about in other sessions on how you can select specific components out of here. If I only want to see the school closures, I can just bring the school closures up. But for now, what we're going to do is take that information in. So I've brought that in. A couple things I can now do with my ArcGIS Online. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to rename it because I don't want it to be this odd sort of name there. I'm going to call this XchangeCore Incidents for Training. And I'm going to say OK. And I've got XchangeCore Incidents for Training. I'm not thrilled about these little RSS symbols there. That's a default. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to find my change style. Click on that one. It gives me a lot of different tools there. The one I want to focus on is to change symbols. And I'm going to click on that. And what I have are a whole bunch of symbols here. I've got shapes, I've got arrows, I've got business things, I've got disaster stuff. And these are going to be incidents. So let's try disasters. I've got These are all sort of specific for every kind of disaster. We've now changed all these into this thing. And that little seismic wave now, that's a liquefaction event. Over here, that's the surface rupture in the road. Just the same data that you saw earlier, new stylizing. Going to click an OK on there. Now we're going to come over here, and what I want to do is go off and create the second one. And this one is for observation. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Click on it, add a layer from the web. It remembers that happened to be a GRSS feed. I'm going to paste that in. Same format, different product type, SOI over there, which is our observation information. I add that layer, and it goes off, and boom, I come back. I get my GRSS feed up there. I get all these funny characters. We'll breeze right through this and rename that one and call these XchangeCore Observations for Training. And do that one. I'm going to grab that, and this time we're going to pick a different symbol over there. Going to select it, but let's take one of these. Looks like a little eyeball of some sort. So we got little eyeballs out there, and if I click on one of those little eyeballs, it's going to be a safety assessment program. People are on scene there. I click the eyeballs there. I've got Ann was providing more information, and we had someplace in here we got a variety of different tree limbs down and other tools that we saw before. And like you saw before, this started at spot on response, but it's that tree limb down that was reported in the Napa earthquake. So we've now done an integration between XchangeCore, save that over there on the left, XchangeCore and ArcGIS Online. Pretty straightforward process. You can deal with this data in any way that you can deal with the GRSS feed coming in. So what I want to do now, I'm going to come over here and let's add a Google Earth in here, and we'll do a quick look at how this functions. And this time around, as that's coming in, we're going to use a different process. This is one that's called adding a network link. So I've got an add up there on the top. I'm going to come down to the network link. The network link, for some reason, opened over here on my other screen. I'm going to call this XchangeCore Incidents for Training, or some reasonable approximation of that name. And over here, I'm going to paste that same query in. This time, though, copied the wrong one, but you'll see the example. It says RSS in there. I can just change that to a KML format. That allows me to now talk Google Earth language. I'm going to say yes and do that. And what I have is the same things that we just saw, different stylizing here. We've got that landslide, and we got some school closure areas, and somewhere in here we can probably find all those specific data that we're looking at, that liquefaction event that we've talked about. Again, same data, moving back and forth to two different systems. Let's go off now, and let's do the second piece of it. This KML, I'll do it the right way this time. We'll do the KML, and it is right over there. I'm going to do exactly the same thing, show you how just to make sure everybody's got it. Add a network link. I'm going to call this XchangeCore Observations OB for Training, and paste that network link in there. You'll see this time I was smart enough to pick up the right one, so I have a KML there. All I'm going to do is click OK. And now you've got these little circles up there. Same circles, same information. I come on up here, and I'm going to take a look at some fallen tree. Well, where was and tree limb down. In the same way, a little cluttered, I can turn off the incidents there. I've got my tree limb down right there. I'm going to click on that. I can come in here. That's the same. Oh, this Phil Balin entered this one. Click on that, and I get the same information that we saw earlier in ArcGIS Online. And if we were to bring up Spot On Response, which was the field tool being used for this, it would obviously have the same information. So, with that, let me come back over here and suggest that while we ask questions, if anybody wants to add some more to this, you can play your role of a field responder. Go in here. If you've already registered, go off and do it. If you haven't registered, here's the instructions on how to register for Spot On Response. I'll give you a minute to do that, and then we'll come back to the Google Earth and ArcGIS Online and see whether anybody's adding any information. So let me pause there for questions.
Hi, Jim. Thank you. This is Svetlana Smartinsky. So I have a practical question, not for the exercise purposes, but in general when there is an incident. So for the exercise, we have our RSS feeds and KML products that we will grab the link and be done. But let's say there is an incident tomorrow. How do we get these links? Who generates them? And then how do we obtain them?
All right, the links that you've just seen, those are permanent. Anything that's going to happen on with the Clearinghouse will go to the Cal OES core. That's there. It's permanent. If we have an incident tomorrow, you're going to discover all these incidents we have here will be erased, and we start fresh on a real emergency.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was one of the things. We've done lots of exercises, but this time around, Ann said, let's not have to teach anybody again. Let's go live, and that's where we are.
Again, so just to remind everybody, this is our 5th week, and so we started out with already being logged in, but the directions for how to get started, just the simple basics of how to get logged into the various tools. Using your XchangeCore credentials. If you don't have them, contact me and we'll make sure you get those set up. And then we're gonna, we're building slowly. We want to give everybody, a chance to build their confidence, doing these basic things first, and then we're gonna, start getting into it more and more, adding layers or adding a specific point or, with ArcGIS Online and this different tools. So we're going to continue to build on the complexity, but we're starting out slow to make sure everybody has a good solid foundation on how to get started.
And this is Phil. I'd just like to make a comment for folks is that it really does depend on the software that you happen to be using to visualize this data, what its ability is to symbolize the data. You saw a number of points in the GeoRSS feed come in as a single type of symbol. Had they been something that maybe status of them was involved, for example, critical care facilities, you might want red for closed and green for open. So one has to be mindful of the software they're using and its ability to symbolize certain types of feeds of data to be able to display the data more precisely to add value to it. And I think we're going to get into that more in the future.
Absolutely, that's a great point, and that's what I was kind of trying to get to, but not as articulately as you did at the beginning of this session. Is for those of you who aren't familiar with, the Clearinghouse. Again, we've been around since 1971, and back in those days, it was paper maps on the wall. We never had this capability before, but technology has advanced, and we have the opportunity to share information more readily, more immediately. And so the Clearinghouse, one of the things we're doing is, updating how we do things and how we think about things. And now that we've got this capability, how does it really work in practical terms? And these questions that, and like that Phil just brought up, and how it matters how you symbolize things. It matters how you enter that information. Those aren't new concepts for those of you using data, but this is new for the clearinghouse to be able to do this, and we're developing our concept of operations, and that's why we really appreciate your willingness to participate in the exercise and test these things out and give us your feedback. What do you think works best? Because we need to have these discussions before the disaster, before not just before the exercise, but before the disaster. And if we have a sense of what other people are doing, that makes it easier for all of us. So yeah, it's a great point.
Just one final thing that I forgot, that both Google Earth and ArcGIS Online allow you to periodically refresh from the GRSS. And you do that in the same fashion over here as we did before. And by doing that, I entered a major congregation of people over here. We have that major congregation of people who are over there. And when that 1 minute of refresh takes place, it's going to show up over here.
Again, just as a reminder to everybody, the clearinghouse, the exercise itself, the national level exercise and state capstone exercise, the scenario is a Southern California earthquake, and but the clearinghouse, we are going to be focusing our efforts primarily in the Cajon Pass area, but that doesn't mean you can't play other areas in Southern California. But that's where we're going to try to be focusing our efforts. So you might wait when you're practicing with these tools, you might want to practice on adding information down in the Cajon Pass area, and we can start playing with that a little bit more. I will also, there was a 3-day planning meeting last week between OES and FEMA and all of the partners and also the military that's going to be playing. And I'm going to be summarizing that information and providing out a little bit more guidance on how the exercise is shaping up in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that as well.